Yeah, definitely.
So before we leave public intellectuals and political commentators,
yeah.
Real quick, just for those interested in the kind of left-wing perspective that I'm talking about, my two favorites that I think are on the more reliable side. So Secular Talk with Kyle Kalinski's, I think that's very good. One that's done by a comedian, so it's a lot more commentary than news. Jimmy Dore Show. I think Jimmy Dore's great. Both of them have been on the Joe Rogan Show, so you should check them out on Joe Rogan. Kyle Kalinski and Jimmy Dore. They're great as far as commentary goes. But yeah.
Okay. And I would like to add to that I really like Bret Weinstein a lot, and I think listening to his talks is really informative. He's got a lot of really good stuff. And I sent both of you, both Dan and Sean, a clip from him. I don't know if you guys watched it.
Yeah, I didn't get all the way through it, but I started with just the whole like day of walkout and stuff. So that was
there's a lot to know there. I'd actually like to send you guys a talk that he gave that was basically about like a reflection of that, and I think we should talk about that. That's actually something that Chris recommended that we talk about on the podcast. I think there's a lot of really good commentary on the left in there, and just the current political climate that we can get into.
But I am excited about the idea of these more leftist thinkers getting involved in this intellectual network, because now that Joe Rogan has had on Kyle Kalinski and Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore has interviewed Chris Hedges, he's interviewed Richard Wolff, and now Richard Wolff knows about Jordan Peterson and is challenging him to a debate. So I'm really excited about this kind of, richening of the discussion.
Another interesting thing, now that we're getting nerdy as fuck and getting excited about possible debates between intellectuals in the future, apparently Bret Weinstein might be debating Richard Dawkins on the evolutionary advantages of religion.
Okay, another really good one. One of the best debates I've ever seen was between Chris Hedges and Richard Dawkins. Talking about religion in general. That was absolutely incredible. And I think Chris Hedges did a good job poking through some of the holes in kind of like the new atheist movement and its blind spots in a way that most people aren't able to. But anyway, check that out. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. The new atheism, I think, goes a little too far in some critiques. But
we can also link all of this stuff in the
anything we mentioned I'm going to put in the description. So just go ahead and look down, and I'll put them in order that we mentioned them.
Sweet. I'll send you some links. Cool. So I think that's about all I had to say on the intellectuals. I like the Weinsteins.
The first topic.
Yeah. I mean, obviously branched into a lot of other topics, but holy fuck, we're slow. And we are definitely going to have to table some of this. So I guess the next question would be, what should we try to cover next? Because we may only get one other topic.
We're at 2.5 hours.
Guns? Okay. Does Sam Harris talk about guns?
He does. He actually has a full podcast where he kind of outlines his views on guns and gun control. And then he has another one where he has two other ones that kind of talk about violence in a tangential way. So he has a blog post on violence, which I'll give to Dan so he can link. And I think it's a really, really sober look at the world and how, like, mostly the U.S. world, I should say. But just like the possibility of violence, the recourses that people should have ready, and the sort of perspective people should have of violence and how to deal with it. I think he does a really good look at that. And then he has a podcast with Jocko Willink, which is he's a former Navy SEAL, and so that's an interesting perspective on the Iraq War in one regard, and also on violence. And then he has another one with a guy named Scott Reitz or something like that, who is a former SWAT officer, and he talks about it from the sort of like the police standpoint and how guns and gun control sort of they talk a little bit about that, but also they talk just about how the police are thought of and that kind of stuff. So I think that was a really good look at that.
We should definitely do a whole thing just on criminal justice.
That would be excellent.
But that's got to be another day.
But yeah, I mean, if we want to do guns, I'm totally down for that. I got a lot of shit on that.
I think that'd be a good one to do. Another one we should do if we don't